Welcome to the Samson Strength Coach Collective. On today's episode, we have Nigel Moyer, who is an exercise physiologist with the University Medical Center in Lubbock, Texas. Nigel, let me say this. I love this episode for two reasons. The first is that Nigel was a former intern for me. And then, really, he was the assistant strength coach for me at Texas Tech with the women's basketball team there for a full year. And then actually took over as the interim head when I left. And so absolutely crushed it at that position. But what was so cool about it is we became such great friends from it. And so for me, what was cool about this episode was it was just like chopping it up with an old friend, right? Getting to talk with people. And we all know those friends in strength and conditioning who, maybe you call them once a month, but keep in touch with them. And then we have those friends who become even more than just strength coach friends, but like lifelong friends, like people who you're always going to talk to about stuff outside of strength and conditioning, and keep each other updated on those things. And that's the type of friend that Nigel is. So I was really excited to have that conversation. I think you can kind of hear it just from the episode of, how much I love Nigel and how cool it was to have him on the podcast. But the second piece is he actually has a really, really interesting job. So like I said, he's an exercise physiologist at the University Medical Center, but he works with patients. His specialty is patients recovering or actively dealing with cancer. And it was just so cool to hear about the successes that he's had, the rewarding pieces of his job and what he gets to do there. And just a program as a whole they have at UMC, I think is really interesting. And so I really enjoyed this episode. I love every episode. I mean, come on, I say that every time, but I mean, this one was a little bit special just because of being my good friend Nigel, but then also just to hear about something so cool and something so unique within the field and show how ubiquitous. Hopefully that's the right word, and hopefully that fits the field of strength and conditioning can be, and how much it can apply to every different area of life, because exercise is important for everybody, not just athletes. And so I think you guys will really enjoy listening to it, hearing his unique perspective. And as always, thank you for listening. What's going on, collective listeners? On today's episode, we have Nigel Moyer. Nigel and I have been friends for a long time. We worked together at Texas Tech. He was the assistant strength coach of women's basketball when I was there. But obviously, we became friends outside of that. He's an awesome dude. Like, I'm very excited to have him on the podcast because I think he is a really good job of developing relationships by blending humor and with his coaching style and just making it like a fun conversation. So I think it's gonna be a really good episode. Nigel, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm super hyped to get to talk to you, again after a long time being away and just, glad to be here.
Yeah, man, it's been about 2 years now since we last saw each other in person.
Yeah, man, a whole life away.
Just so the listeners are aware, like this is the guy who helped me move for like 8 hours on the day I had to pack up my U-Haul and everything. Like, very, very special person to me. So I'm very happy to have you on. Could you kind of just give us a quick background, of your history in strength and conditioning, athletics, lifting, and then what brought you to your current position?
Yeah, do my best. So, came, to Tech in 2016 for didn't know what at the time. I know I really liked working out. I had a lot of, you know, uh, interest in powerlifting coming out of high school, and then just an interest in kind of furthering my confidence through the gym and through lifting. Coming into Tech, about my sophomore year, wanted to go kinesiology. Finished out my bachelor degree with that and my minor in nutrition, and then I thought, you know what, let's send it. Go ahead and get the master's degree. So I'd have my master's in kinesiology with a focus in exercise science, human performance, and then got to meet the big dog, the VG, and do the internship with Tech that blossomed into being fortunate enough to land with you in the assistant coach role for basketball, and from there, after finished up everything there, actually got to do a little bit of work with Iron J's gym and nutrition center here in Lubbock, working with just supplementation for Gen Pop people, getting to learn more about supplements, just kind of getting into the field of transitioning from that athlete, realm to the more just general population people just wanting, protein, creatine, whatever else they can get. And I've actually landed now here at UMC, University Medical Center in Lubbock, Texas, working with again, some special populations in the medical field, general population people, and then still doing some class oriented stuff. So it's been pretty fun.
That's awesome, dude. You know, you call me VG, just so the listeners know. The nickname is Vanilla Gorilla, which was like, I don't know. I used to do this joke all the time. Like, somebody would say something and be like, "Oh, that was my nickname in middle school." You know, like, just like something stupid. Like, it's a dumb joke. And then who we worked with was Darby Rich on the men's side, and he said something about Vanilla Gorilla, and I was like, "Oh, that's my nickname in middle school." And the next day, like, there was Vanilla Gorilla posted all over my office, all over every single area possible. And he just kept going, VG. And so it stuck. But, Nigel definitely perpetuated it. Nigel was a big piece in keeping the Vanilla Gorilla
Huge fan of the VG.
alive.
Had to keep it going.
Had to keep it going. Something too that's interesting, and like we talked about, you were the assistant strength coach. When I left to take my position here at App State, you actually became the interim head while at Texas Tech. Can you kind of talk to me a little bit about that experience? What that was like, and kind of maybe some of the challenges you faced. I know we've broken it down ourselves, but I think it's interesting for the listeners to hear as well.
Yeah, no, it was super tough having some big shoes to fill, and you left such a with a heartfelt goodbye. It was, hard to follow that, just the next day, hey, still got me. But in the, aspect of actually, how work changed, it helped being one on one with you just because I got to see how hard you worked and how, the long and every, strength coach listening or, that's been on here knows the, long hours, the, work at home, your brain doesn't stop. You're going to sleep thinking about programming and how you can make your program better and how you can make the athletes better and what you're doing. It never stops, right? But I don't think I realized to the extent of how you did that it would, so much more came on. Because even as, the assistant, I was wanting to make sure I was on top of my game for not only you, but the athletes, right? The reason we're there. But assuming that head role for even, just that time that it was like way more, it was almost just like an unknown pressure that was felt. And so mentally, it took a toll a little bit harder, like a little bit more. But it's one of those things where looking back on it now, you're in the trenches, right? And I mean, in season especially, you're in the trenches like that. But you come out of it so much better, and you're so much sharper, you're so much more knowledgeable. You have, you're kind of built in that pressure. So I think looking back on it, I wouldn't change that for anything. Obviously, during the time, I was like, man, I'm not good enough to be here, but looking back on it now, I think it's helped my communication now. It's helped my programming now. It's helped so many aspects of my career now that I'm like, man, I'm glad I went through it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think that's like something a lot of strength coaches can resonate with is like that process where it's just you just get thrown in the deep end and it's literally sink or swim, and you just have to kind
Yeah.
of figure things out by yourself. And, I mean, I tried to help you as much as I could, but I'm over here starting my new job. And so, like
Yeah.
I knew you would be able to rise to the occasion though. I think that was the biggest thing for me is that I knew that you could do it. And I felt it honestly made a difference in me taking this position here because it felt comfortable knowing that, hey, Nigel will be able to take over and be able to handle these people because they were athletes that we both cared about deeply. It wasn't like this was just some position that we were leaving. I think, as you and I as a staff built a really, really good relationship with that team and we really cared about them. We wanted to see them succeed, but exactly what you stated, like you took over, you understood. I think when you talk about the pressure, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like the pressure for me with the difference between a head and assistant position is a little bit more of like it is on you. Like it's at the end of the day, like, as an assistant, like you contributed, you had great ideas that you contributed and we worked through those, right? But then, as a head, it's like, okay, it's time to execute it, and it's like if something messes up, even if somebody gets injured, which has almost nothing to do with you, right? You take it all upon yourself. Like it's just all this
Hmm.
intense pressure. Was that what you were feeling?
Yeah, for sure. And it was like definitely, you have that CSCS handbook and you just kind of do that with it. And you're like, all right, this is, unknown territory. And so the having a CSS, obviously definitely helps. It's, the whole professional side of it. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, even with the assistant coach, like being the help there, having the good ideas or, having the way to execute it, it still all goes back to you. And, that's something I think you were a good enough like leader in that position where I not only got to learn from you in how to be a leader, a better leader, just because I hadn't had many opportunities to do that one on one and one on a team. But, you know, coming out of it, you're like, yeah, all right. It's like you said, it's all on me. So the good and the bad and the ugly, you got to take it.
Just take it on the chin, right?
Yep.
Just at the end of the
It's
day.
real good when it's real good, and when it's not real good, it's
Correct.
it's not as good.
Extremely correct. When you're winning, you're doing good things. Hell yeah.
That's right. That's right.
He's and people don't know too. Nigel's the meme master, so I'm just thinking about some memes that you would send me.
Yeah, those 5 a.m. memes really had to get us going.
Well, no, but they powered me through, and you were a big piece too. And I think that's why I'm so excited to have you on the episode too. Is like, the relationship between the head and the assistant makes a really, really big impact on the ability for the head to continue to do stuff too, right? Like I'll never forget, like it'd be 6 a.m. because it just worked out where we would always have a 6 a.m. lift, and so you just come in,
Oh yeah.
we'd be there together, and we just sit at the desk silently for like 3 minutes. But you usually bring me a witch's brew, the Alani's,
Yep.
but you'd always like make me laugh and make me ready for the day, like, and that was a big, big piece for me too, right? Because our listeners, I'm sure, could figure out just from the language I use. I get stressed out quickly, and I just get grumpy. I just a big grumpy Gus. So you
Yeah.
turned that around for me, which I appreciate. Going to Iron J's, you talked about learning about supplementation. I mean, that was actually one of like the coolest shops that I was able to go into because of everything that you had available. Like it was like you did have your basic protein and creatine, but then it evolved and you got into a lot of different stuff, even like nootropics, which you put me on, which I thought was really cool. How was your experience at Iron J's? Do you feel like that's kind of helped you at your new position, learning about all that supplementation?
Yeah. And kind of again, same aspect of that. Looking back in the hindsight, at the time it was kind of just an in between job. I was getting more time to lift, more time to do some personal training, and use my degree in my CSES. But um, at the time, I was like, man, what am I doing? I felt behind. I felt, like I saw these people getting GA positions. I saw these people getting assistant coaching positions, going to high schools, and I felt, just kind of stuck. But one thing I've, tried to understand a little bit more, just touching into, my faith is just timing, right? Like there's a higher timing for everybody. There's a reason for everybody being there. So I, try to make the best of it. And again, like you said, there was so much at my disposal that I was like, okay, let's take this opportunity to really learn about everything, learn about the supplements going into it. I had previously taken an ergogenics aids class with Dr. Tinsley at Tech. So I already felt I had the resources to learn about everything. And so getting to help people with their supplementation, not only that, when they come in thinking they need supplementation and it's just a diet they need to fix or it's consistency they need to fix, I think it really helped set me up for now because I got used to talking to that non-athlete population on, hey, maybe you don't need, this much protein, or maybe you don't need to supplement with this much protein. Maybe you actually need to start integrating more protein into your diet from whole foods, or, maybe you don't need, some things, or maybe, hey, you've tried everything, maybe add in some creatine now, and I think again that's just helped propel me now to being able to help people a little bit quicker and have that background knowledge of all the supplements.
Yeah, I think that piece is huge because I'll post content and people will be like, "Oh, this is for me." Like it'll be like something like, "Oh, weight gain guys eat all these Jimmy Dean sausages because you're just burning so many calories per day." Like some other guys are like, "Should I do this?" And I'm like, "Hell no!" Like no,
Yeah,
completely
no.
different. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Tess was a big kind of proponent of that too. Is like, you're an athlete, you need to eat like an athlete, or train like an
Yep.
athlete, or be an athlete. You're a, stay at home mom of four. Like, you're not spending 10 hours a day training. You're not burning all those excess calories. You're not, needing some of the, maybe you have different deficiencies.
Yep.
So it's definitely specific to who you are and your role, but it's kind of interesting, and then we can get into it later as far as like the actual like hospital role. But it's so, you know, not that it's like, oh man, it's so bad to hear, but it's just kind of sucks when you start talking to more and more people, and you're like, there's, you have, we all go through our even as a strength coach, working with nutritionists, like you said, like an assistant coach, you start to learn the basics at least of nutrition. And you're not giving RD advice, but you start to learn like, okay, protein, good balanced diet, good processed foods, not good, just the basics. Talking to all these people out, in the real world, it's so like not there.
It's insane.
And it's like you kind of have that like eye-opening moment of like, oh my gosh, like these people need help and I can't reach all these people. So just one at a time.
Well, I feel like that's got to be a really big deal working with general population, right? Is even athletes, because there's an education based level, there are continuing education pieces, or they'll have a dietitian come in and say, hey, break down what a carb, protein, and fat is, and then sometimes I'll hear general population, it's like, is chicken a carb, and it's just like, like,
Yeah,
how am I going to knock this person? Because they probably know how to blow Excel out of the water, or, are really good at whatever their current position is, right? And it's just like, this is
right.
what we chose as a profession. This is what we chose to get better and better at. And so understanding the base level of knowledge is very different for the general population. I'm sure is a key factor in your clients.
Yeah, 100% kind of on the nose there. You've got guys that are multimillionaires in their, whatever business, and they come into the gym and, they have a hammer strength machine and it's on a set range of motion, set everything. They can't, figure it out. And again, it's not the point and laugh at them. It's the, like you said, you can be so well versed in one area, but not versed in another. And so we got to be there to bridge the gap.
I mean, I'll tell you what. If you have me actually break down chemistry, I would look like an absolute third grader. Like, I just cannot do it, But we
Oh
can talk
yeah.
about periodization all day. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
one piece that you brought up that I thought was really interesting within that too was kind of the timing piece that you talked about. How did you stay positive in that moment? And was it through your faith? Was it through other things? Just so that you could understand that it really is. It's a time and a place, and it's also understanding that maybe it's not your time right now, but good things are to come.
Yeah, no, I definitely think, kind of, again, I just think there's moments in life where, you kind of get brought to your knees and, you're kind of humbled a little bit and you're kind of, humanized. And so getting back into my faith, praying more, again, kind of just, reading more into my scripture and just learning about, everything and learning that, okay, I'm good. There's someone out there that's got me. Like I'm not alone in this. And so again, being, the person I needed to be at the time and just making the most out of maybe what looked like not so great situation was just kind of what I try to do with that. And then now I'm here, and I don't know if this is end goal where I'm at right now. I'd like to think not. Obviously, being so young, you want to, maybe see yourself progress or at least get into different revenues of helping people. But um, I definitely think I'm on the right path and kind of relinquishing that power, I think I have to control every single step of my life. It's a very big like weight off my shoulders.
Yeah. I think that's just such an important piece of, most careers, but I think especially within strength and conditioning because it is so selective on how people get hired or how, certain processes go. It's not like you can really just send in an application. Like anytime something's posted, it's not like this is like, yeah, this is an open application. It's no, this is, you have to know exactly who's at this position. And then hopefully by the time it's posted, they haven't already hired somebody for the job, and so
Right.
I think that's where it's a key piece, whether it be faith or whether it be another person within your life, like who you can kind of go back to and always stay grounded and, kind of check in with. And I think those relationships, like the relationship you and I have, where you've talked me off ledges a couple of times and I've talked you off of the same time, same amount, like it's
Yeah.
just, those things are really key because those are what allow you to really be consistent and still be fulfilled in your position and know that, good things are still to come.
Yeah, I agree. Having that, strong woman at home and,
Yeah.
have the baby now, growing
Yeah.
like a weed. Having that home security was really great, but also having you in the field and you kind of having already, I'm maybe two steps behind you, or I'm, behind you where you can tell me where, to go. That was huge help just throughout the way, or just, being able to send you a text like, needing some advice or needing some, pick me up, and you were always there for me. So that was huge to have those kind of two different types of support.
I mean, absolutely, like you said too, right? The strong woman at home. Test my fiance. I can't tell you how many times I've come home and I've been like, today kicked my ass.
Yeah.
I got nothing
Yeah.
left.
No, I definitely think we need to shout out the women of, strength and conditioning, like the support women that are there, just because, you do go home and you all day. I mean, 5 to 9,
Yep.
you've given everything. Even at lunch, there's no quiet moments. There's no, extra moments of, reflection. And so you get home and it's like just emotional dump, trauma
Yep.
dump, physical just tiredness. And so I think that's, an aspect that maybe we or some people in the industry kind of overlook, but
Yep.
I think it's a great thing for us to have.
Very, very important. Very important.
Yeah,
Can you kind of
huge
huge
dubs for the
dubs, huge
women.
dubs, big dubs, W's in the
Yeah.
chat. uh, can you kind of take me now, at UMC, kind of just take me through a typical day because I think it's a really interesting piece. Not a lot of people, I think, understand really how that position works within the hospital, and then that
Yeah.
these options are available as a career path.
Yeah. And so I kind of wrote as some notes just about, UMC as a company. That way I don't, you know, have a different kind of phone call with some people about what I said. But just about like for the, listeners and maybe people not local to Lubbock, which is probably everybody, maybe not Scott, but um, who UMC is, we are just in general, we are the county hospital here in Lubbock, Texas. But I think, I got to talk with some of my kind of higher ups about what to say, just about the company, briefly explaining what it is. And, it's not in the same stigma as what a county hospital kind of gets, maybe, around Texas, maybe around the nation. We have really quality service we provide. That's something that we, really try to strive for, is just the best quality service for our customers. We're opening, children's hospitals around Lubbock. We are a burn center. We have a really big like pull radius as far as who comes to see us, and so UMC is amazing. We're doing great things. They actually do 104 million in unfunded care per year. And as far as, and kind of just like the numbers, and hopefully I'll explain this right, but and back in taxes, what we get is around 30 million from, in taxes every year. So the taxes that the UMC company gets doesn't even cover half of the unfunded care that UMC does. And so, um, it's a fantastic company. Getting to go through the orientation for them was an enduring process for sure of the 2 days, but getting to learn just about how much they care for not only their employees, but for the people that they're providing care for. It was refreshing just because, you get a good boss, right? And you're like, man, this is going to be a game changer for this job. It can make or break it. Like kind of having that same outlook for a company is the same way of just like, man, this is a great company. This is going to, change how I, want to be here, and I want to give my all if they're giving me their all. So, but again, moving into like the medical fitness program or my role here as an exercise physiologist, I think about 10% of hospitals nationwide have medical fitness programs, and that's, what they kind of title them. But a fraction of those are actually what we do here at UMC and actual like programs. A lot of them are just a hospital tied to a gym, or a gym kind of in the, vicinity of the hospital, and they call them medical fitness programs. So there's kind of the difference of, oh, we're a hospital that has the gym, we offer these, and then kind of what we're doing in the sense of like, no, we have 8-week programs for different populations that we, program for and coach through and take these people through them. So a few of them that we offer are for bariatric population, postnatal, um, hypertension, diabetes, and then the one I am head of is the cancer. So I get to work with, remission cancer patients right now, or they were cancer patients, and the goals that I'm kind of going through are a lot different than strength and conditioning, right? So at that, collegiate level, the professional level, you're wanting that 1% every day, right? That 1% better every day in terms of numbers, in terms of, maybe velocities, bar speed, things like that. For me, I'm looking for that 1% better of, did they get out of bed today? Did they, make it to the gym today? Did we work on things that are going to improve their quality of life at this point? Are we getting them more confident coming to the gym? are they confident coming by themselves and not just having this one-on-one time? And so it's a lot different than what I was used to coming from, again, that high athlete population, but it's again in a different sense the same kind of rewarding.
I mean, that's just such an important process, right? And it's so cool to me, like that. Obviously, cancer affects so many more people than are in Division One athletics, right? And so the amount of lives that you can have an effect on is so important. But then to also hear how underdeveloped that exercise side is of the hospital is a little bit shocking to me because as professionals, exactly like we talked about earlier, like we know the benefits of exercise. We know exactly what it can do for a person. We know exactly how much it can help them, not only physically, but from a mental aspect. But, even the ACSM guidelines, right, of 150 minutes of low intensity exercise per week is going to help decrease all of your metabolic disease risk factors. And so,
Right.
if we can do all these things, and why is it not a bigger deal? Why is it not something that's involved more? So I think that is really cool that UMC is doing something like that, where your gym is actually physically within the hospital. It's a sick gym too, by the way. Like
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
great
We are.
facility.
Yeah, we are awesome, and that was kind of something else I was gonna kind of hoping we get to talk about is so we are techno gymmed, TF out. We
Yeah.
have techno gym everything, and kind of along with going into the facility now, um, we have it's a really neat place here. We have a kind of like a one stop shop. We have PT right upstairs that also has outfitted with techno gym equipment and some other PT stuff, but we have you know, the gym right underneath them where I'm at. And we have people coming from background, like myself in human performance coaching. We have people that have background in cardiology and cath lab and medical backgrounds. So we have all kinds of different professionals at those levels. And the communication that we can have between us for patient care is huge. Just like what you would think, App State with your communication, you have the nutritionist, right around the corner. You have the ATs right around the corner. The coaches, the skills coaches, whoever else you may need to talk to. You've got that almost. It's a small community that you have there, and I think we have that here at UMC in this new facility that we're at, which is the Health and Wellness, hospital. We have, PCPs here. We have oncologists here that I can, at my disposal that I can go and talk to if I ever have a question that I don't know the answer to because I'm not by any means a cancer expert. Um, so, the reach I have here is tremendous. And I think, something's, unique to UMC, but also I'm sure there's other hospitals around the country that have that. And I think, the care that we're able to provide is so much better than that, or so much better than that of other places potentially. But Techno Gym, man, I don't know if you've gotten to use any of their equipment, but it's awesome. It's, it's definitely definitely a different side of what I've been used to with Sorinex, the Samson equipment, which is awesome, um, hammer strength. Just it's a completely different world, and I think for the population we have, it's the best we could have gotten. But getting to work with them more and learning that they're working with the PGA, the NFL, they're working with Olympians, they're working in the MLB coming up. Like their reach is already kind of widening here in the U.S. and I know it's already huge in Italy and Europe. So getting to have all the equipment we have, and I could throw a bunch of different terms out that you'd be like, oh, that's okay, but I think there's so much room to grow for them collegiately where they're already kind of starting with a few different places, a few different athletes, but we are I think the only facility in the country to have kind of they have a bunch of different small they have a circuit, they have what's called their SkillX, which is like their hit classroom setups. They have a bunch of different kinds of equipment they use, and I think we're one of, I'll say, the only places in the country to have everything that Technogym offers at our disposal in one under one roof. And for it to be in Lubbock, Texas, I'm like, all right, okay, like go Lubbock, here we
But
go.
Lubbock is somewhat of an epicenter. I mean, seriously, if you do think about all those small towns and small areas that surround Lubbock, like it's
Yeah,
5 hours away from every other major city.
yeah, and I think that's why the hospital in general has so much pull radius from them being the burn center, the trauma center,
Yeah.
and then again for us, and again kind of something I forgot to mention. One of those programs, the medical fitness, is care for the overhead athlete. So I don't know if you, and again, kind of specific for anybody listening. Do you remember Imelda from Tech?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so she's actually working here with us
Oh
now, and
wow.
she's working with like care for the overhead athlete, and she's working with just a bunch of different, almost like prehab settings here.
Yeah.
And so we're getting to work with a bunch of younger, and again, tying into strength and conditioning, she's getting to work with a lot of younger baseball athletes right now, specifically on just care for the overhead athlete, for pitchers, for putting a lot of, obviously we know how much stress that shoulder joint goes through. She's getting to do that almost in like a prehab situation, and it's really cool to see, just because I mean, we've seen it. You see, or I'm sure other coaches listening can relate. You have all these freshmen, you have a group of freshmen that come in. Some of them came from a great program in high school. They're locked and loaded, ready to go. And you can just, I mean, you can hammer them. You give them everything and they're absorbing it. They have a great foundation. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then you have some of them that come in that were less fortunate, and they didn't come from a great program, or they didn't come from a great, coach in high school. And it's kind of the opposite. They've got already injuries that they're starting to have to work through. Maybe they have to redshirt a year. Maybe they, can't be the player they want to be because of XYZ. And you're just like, man, you feel for them, because that's not, it's something that could have been avoided. And so I think having something like this at a hospital, nonetheless, not even at, you know, high school or collegiate program, is great for working with people like you, and people just like around, not only for their quality of life going forward, but for the quality of like an athlete's life.
Well, I mean, that stuff is so huge because you hear horror stories, but like I experienced it myself. I hurt my back deadlifting freshman year of college, and I really, I mean, my back is still jacked up to this day. You know that like as soon as I miss groove, I'm messed up. But like, you know,
Yeah.
I remember getting an X-ray and then a CT scan done and everything, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, you're not gonna be able to lift anything over 50 pounds again for the rest of your life." And I was just like, "What are
Mhm.
you talking about?" Like, like this is
Yeah.
like horrible advice. Like, there's better outlets to go through it. And fortunate enough, I was connected and plugged in with people who understood and knew the process of like that's BS. Like, you can still lift. It's gonna take a long time to rehab and get to where you want to be, but
Hmm.
like lifting is actually still very beneficial for you. It's probably going to help your back more, and so those things are so frustrating. And imagine if I didn't have those connections, if I didn't have the opportunity to speak with those people, because there's a lot of people who go out there and listen to it, and then now they're not lifting anything over 50 pounds for the rest of their life. And then now, dude, they're when they hit 60, 70, they can't even put their bag in an overhead bin for a flight because they don't lift, they don't do any of these types of things that really create a longer quality of life. And so that's what's so cool to me about this aspect too of the UMC program, is just like if there is an injury, you get referred to PTs and people who understand the process of how to continue training and how to get you back to where you once were.
Yeah. And then that one stop shop, we've got people that come in, they need PCPs, we got them. They need to go through PT for a little while, and then the PT can refer them to us downstairs, and we can continue that, kind of what you were saying, continue the strengthening of whatever they need to work on, or continue the functional movements that they need to work on. And so it's huge seeing this, because it's almost like, outside of the strength and conditioning world, you're like, man, I wish a place like this existed, and it does. And so I'm still getting to kind of live out, and again, maybe things change in the future, but for right now, like, still getting to live that dream of just being in that like leadership role, that coach role, helping people, and still try to sharpen my skills. And again, something else that I'm sure we all kind of like. Yep, you don't use it, you lose it. And so that's where I was again kind of trying to do a lot of reading, and I text you for book recommendations, and just trying to listen to some of the names I like in the field. Alan Bishop's a really great one that I love to get to listen to and see how he does things. And of course, U of H fan, being from Houston. But and then if, shout out Vernon Griffith, if he's
The boy.
listening. Yeah, the boy. I DM'd him to. So I DM'd him because I was like, man, like, yeah, I don't know if you've ever been through this, but I was like, man, I'd love to just get to grace his presence, just
Yeah.
to just maybe some of the knowledge sweat will drop off on me, and I'll get better. and he's working with he works with tier 1 operators in Virginia, and they get to do this whole thing. It's really cool if you ever go check it out, or I can send you some links. But I was like, man, that's something I really want to get into, is like that tactical field, the first responder, military, veteran, give back to those guys. And I DM'd him on Instagram because I didn't know how else to reach out. I sent this like long thing, and I was like, please, just like I'll fly out there myself. I'll work for free for you for a week, like just please, and
Yeah.
nothing. So if
Oh
he
man.
hears this, hey, I still want to work with you for a little bit. So,
Vernon, check
but
your DMs.
yeah, got shot down. So I don't know if he left me on red, but
I'll say this. I will say this. I do get. I didn't know you could see like messages from people who don't follow you for the absolute longest time. Like I didn't. I'd never on Instagram ever checked to like the like hidden messages or whatever. And there was like 15
uh,
people, bro. And I was like, oh my
yeah,
goodness, I was
I'm
a
sure that's what it
scumbag.
is. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. I'll just, I'm sure he hasn't seen it yet.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
probably real busy, so,
He'll check back in
you
one day.
know,
One day.
yeah, I'd probably give it a, few years maybe, but we'll
Never
see.
lose hope. Just fingers crossed.
Yeah, nope, never back down, never what?
Never.
Uh, but yeah, but yeah, that kind of, to the future, maybe wanting to start my own thing one day. Private realm is cool. I think it can be, you know, in some ways better, some ways worse than having that organization. Like, for let's say somewhere like in your position, uh, you have, again, me in this position being unique. I have some of that same outreach that you do, but private industry is really hard because it's almost like you're just the head coach of like everything. So you have to, it's all on you again, like a head coach, but sometimes don't have those resources. So social media is a great tool. Again, it can be a great tool. Um, I won't name names there of who not to watch, but we all probably know a few. Um, but yeah, it can be a great tool. Again, having friends like you is huge. I still talk to some of the strength and conditioning coaches at Texas Tech when they have time. I know they're super busy, but again, just having those resources at my disposal is fantastic for still trying to better my craft. And you said something, comparisons and thief of joy. I love that. And kind of something else we talked about too is like you're never, at least for like I know you and I, like I still hate my programming. Like I'm still,
Yes.
I know, in the back of my head, deep down, I know what I'm talking about. I know I'm following, whether it's ACSM guidelines or whether it's CSCS, at the least, at the very, base of it, and will this make this person stronger, better, faster, whatever they need? Yes. But I look at this program, I'm like, oh man, like I hope no other strength coach sees this because they're gonna be like, what are you doing?
Dude,
And
I
so,
I even just called somebody last week about my peaking program, right? It's like a guy who I think is one of the best programmers out there. And I was like, hey, so I was thinking potentially doing this. And he was like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I was like, yeah, and then maybe this superset, and then, like we got to the end. He's like, yeah, it's good. I like it. I was like, really? Like, is it really
yeah,
okay?
yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Are you just, kind of, you buttering me up here?
It's a
It's
natural
okay.
natural part of the
I've been
programming process.
programming for, a decade and it's okay.
It's
You're
okay. It's
telling me I'm
okay.
not complete. Yeah. I'm
Yep.
not complete, Garbaggio. So,
Well, it beats my
but
first
yeah,
programs, which are all 4 by
yeah,
12
right.
front squat, 4 by
Yeah.
20, all this BS.
Yeah. Just German volume training for months.
Absolutely, it's how it should be. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really just break
But,
down the cartilage. Yeah,
oh yeah, that's, pain, no gain.
the bit again.
But, hearing that from you was really comforting because again, at the time, being younger in the game, and I know you're younger in the game, being able to relate to you and just know that you felt like that too. And I have seen you have success. And again, you look at some of your idols in the game and you're like, man, these guys, someone like even Cal Dietz probably, you're like, man, this guy just, he knows everything. Or, this guy just, oh my gosh, he's on a whole new plane of existence. And then kind of, to the extent how I saw you and you're like, oh no, like I'll look back at a program from a month ago and I'll be able to change everything on it and then, make it better. And knowing that was going to be an ongoing process, especially like with, you know, the medical fitness programs and the people here, like I'm, and I hope, and again, there's people in every field that, I try to give 100% every day just because I know maybe on that day I show up and I give, 93 or I give 85 or I give 70, maybe there's a person I miss and maybe there's a person I don't get to reach out to. And that's, just kind of makes me, again, that kind of what drives me with my faith. And then that's what drives me of like, man, if I'm not, if, and same with you guys, like, and even at tech, like if you don't show up every single day and give that energy, give the juice, uh, you could potentially miss out on somebody or something, or, you know, and it helps me so much in trying to make people better. And again, like what you were saying with the programming, like I'm able to walk a little bit more, confidently with it, and just know that okay, like I'm capable, I can do this, and I'm the guy for the job, and just kind of having that self talk of, not cocky, but enough to be like, no, I can do this, and I'm glad they came to me because I know the quality and the standard I hold myself to, and so I know that they're gonna appreciate that and they're gonna see success from it. But I think you can, and probably others can relate to that as well. It's tough, but
Well, I mean, dude, I think that's so huge, and I love that that's your mindset on it because that is so important from a standpoint of, maybe my programming isn't as good as I want it to be, or maybe I constantly kind of criticize what I specifically do. But the one thing that I think you can't look back on and regret is your effort, or what you give to each person on a daily basis, because that is exactly like you said, where you start missing people, where people fall through the cracks, or maybe you miss an opportunity that day to really make a change in somebody's life, because I don't know, like I don't know if you feel this process too. Like there's just like some, like I just kind of look back and I'm just like, wow, that was a conversation that was like a super quick one-off conversation, or like one sentence that has always stuck with me. Like I always kind of repeat that sentence in my head over and over again. And you never know when that sentence is gonna come. And then as coaches, it's our job to deliver those sentences, right? And so you never know, if you don't say something on a particular day, or if you don't give your 100% on that day, that sentence doesn't stick with that athlete, right? Because it never came to fruition. So I think that's
right.
always the biggest piece is, can I give my all today? And that's where you can really hang your hat on and say, I don't really care about my programming at this point. Like I just care about the fact that I care about this athlete and I really wanted to see them get better. Or I care about this client and I really wanted to see them get healthier.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And coming at that angle of empathy and compassion for the athletes and for the we'll call them athletes in the medical fitness program too, just these long term athletes, the senior athletes. They deserve the best. They deserve all your effort. They deserve that 100% because they're putting that trust in you, and so you've got to reciprocate that. But if it's not from a genuine place, and same thing in at tech, you kind of have to find who you are, your voice, your style, and I was never the 6'2" giant guy that people just kind of already would like listen to what came out of my mouth because I looked the part. So I had to find a different style. I had to find a different way of, connecting, but at the same time making it genuine. And so I think here is kind of the same thing of like if you come at it from a genuine angle and you can get to keep it simple, keep the foundational things that work, doing them, and you can explain those to the basketball athlete, the football athlete, the cancer patient. They can increase that buy-in a lot more.
Absolutely. Now, I'm just thinking of a question too. Now, as you're saying that,
Yeah,
you're a strong guy. Do you ever just go in that gym and kind of flex on them a little bit, hit a couple
yeah,
sets of bench and squat just to show them you got it?
yeah. We gotta be tiptoe around that that accusation because I don't want anybody calling me out, man. Can't be can't be getting
Certified
embarrassed on the
strong.
gram.
No, no, no. Certified strong.
We'll maybe like a PT cert. Maybe not like a NSCA cert.
Oh,
We're
get
getting
out of
there.
here,
We're
man.
getting
Get
there.
out of here.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
and so kind of going back, just on the question too with Technogym and what we have, I think it's neat what they do in the sense that like what they know what they're not the best at, and they
Yeah.
know what they are the best at. So obviously they have their equipment that we use as their bio strength and all their kind of like accessory equipment, but then for their barbells, for their barbells, dumbbells, and weight plates. That's not even like that's not what they do. And so they outsource. And so we actually have partnered with Kabuki to get some of their, Duffalo bars, their Cadillac bar, their Transformer bar. And so we get to, have those here that we can, you know, show some of the patrons how to use them. And then we get to play with them as well. And I mean, that's probably the number one perk of any strength and conditioning coach role is just all the toys you have. You're like, this is my home gym. This is my personal
Absolutely.
gym. I live here.
Absolutely.
Um, and so getting to use all that, and then they outsource their plates and barbells or plates and dumbbells from American Barbell. So we've got some great, stuff with that here. So it's not all, there's some meathead stuff in there.
Yeah.
Kabuki's pretty meathead, but they're great. But yeah, I've been getting back into powerlifting. Um, you know, having some help with my programming for myself, but I'm excited to keep going with that this year and see the numbers I can hit.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm doing my starting strength certification this year, and so it's all
Okay.
just Mark Ribito, heavy sets of five.
Yeah,
So,
just here we go. Yeah, whatever
drink
works.
drink a gallon of milk, hit some heavy sets of five, call it a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. That's money. That's money.
Well, one last question I've got for you. Do
Yeah.
you feel like a lot of your work with your clients is kind of breaking down stigma around the gym because of what we talked about previously, like not understanding the process of it, or being experts in their own specific field, but not really knowing how to translate that knowledge, or use their time to invest in learning about fitness? Do you feel like it's kind of breaking down some stigma with these clients and really showing them what exercise can do for them?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's, like a big part of it. I think again the way our facility is set up, it doesn't look like a gym. It doesn't. Well, it does in a sense, but you get in there and it's really open. The techno gym stuff's all uniform. It's clean. It's nice. We have a lot of cardio, so you come into it and you're like, man, this is not for a lot of people. Again, coming from a Planet Fitness, coming from a an old school gym maybe, or coming from a facility where it looks like the gym, it feels like the gym, it smells like the gym, there's a lot of people around you like a gym. They come into this place and they're already, you know, kind of in a different spot of this is not a gym I'm used to. And so it helps my job of breaking that stigma. But, I think a lot of people have the impression that they need to do, a lot of, when they hear resistance training or when they hear, training with weights, they're like, oh, I can't do that. Like I've had X, Y, and Z surgery on, 65 years old. I haven't worked out in 2 years. I've got, X, Y, and Z chronic medical conditions. I've got, they just go through the list. And, again, that's daunting to hear, but, it's kind of like that thing we talked about of 100% effort. Like, no matter what I hear that you've gone through, I will get you, I will get you better. We will get you better than when you walked in here. And so, again, breaking down that stigma of, okay, resistance training doesn't mean we're going to do, 5-3-1, or we're going to do, conjugate, and we're going to just throw you, into the gauntlet. We're starting with a lot of functional, everything can be functional, but okay, hey, let's work on sitting and standing. Let's work on getting your hip flexor stronger. Let's work on turning on those glutes that maybe haven't been, worked in however long, and just, getting them used to feeling, feeling some burn. And, for me, sometimes it can feel pretty, I guess I'll just say basic for a lack of a better word, in a sense that, I'm not doing the stuff that I did at, a D1 university. We're not getting to do that stuff, or maybe we're not getting to do the extra credit stuff or the Instagram worthy stuff. But, this is what works, and it's what gets them feeling better. And, when they come in, same thing with you. Like, you have those moments of just like, they make it all worth it. The 4 a.m. wake ups, the 4 a.m. workouts, the no sleep, the 800 milligrams I've just caffeine I've just consumed. You know, by the way, I don't know how you haven't got the Lonnie new sponsorship yet. We need to get you on that. Um,
I need
but
it.
you
Need
have
it.
those moments where those people tell you like, "Hey, I got out of bed today and like my back didn't hurt," or like, "Hey, I was able to actually like walk around my house and not be scared I'm gonna fall." And I was able to play with my whatever it is, play with my grandkid, have the confidence of, sitting down on the couch and knowing I can get back up without help. Uh, those are kind of the best, that's again, got the wife and the kid. I gotta pay the bills, but that's better than any sort of like paycheck that I could ever get. And I know it's the same for, most everybody in the strength and conditioning world too. Is, we're not here for the money. uh it's a good way to keep living and, keep food in our mouth and clothes on our back. But those testimonies that you get, and again, after all the stress of not knowing if the program's good enough, if you're not good enough, the moments of doubt, stress, fatigue, everything, you get that, athlete that comes up to you and they're like, hey, like, you know, uh, not as dramatic, like, you changed my life. Or,
No, but you do. But you
again,
do.
for the medical fitness, hey, you're changing my life. I thought I was just gonna have to live with this pain forever, and I thought I was just gonna have to get used to it. But changed my life. And again, like, I know for you and for a lot of the guys we know and have worked with, and maybe a lot of the other guys out there, it's, man, that again just restores your faith in what you're doing, and it allows you to keep going till the next one. But
Those are the energizers. Those are exactly what just gives you the energy to
yeah,
keep going and
yeah,
keep pushing through. Yeah,
yeah,
and like
stronger
you
than any
said,
witch's brew out there,
stronger than any witch's brew. Although that's pretty strong. Alani, please
dude.
hit me up.
So good.
Uh,
Yeah, please get this man some free
Give me
free
some
drinks
free
over
witch's
here.
brew, please. Okay, please. Well, man, I think that's absolutely perfect to end on. I think that's like an awesome
Yeah.
message. If anybody wants to reach out to you, wants to talk to you about your position or anything else that you talked about today, what would be the best way to do it? Or if they want to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
Yeah, social media. Oh, dude, this is a good, funny one to end on too. It's just gonna be first name, last name. I do have like a fitness account where I just try to post like people that I get to work with. How about this name? 5 Foot Fitness.
Here we go,
Here
baby.
we go.
Here we
Here we
go.
go. Yeah, if you're anywhere in 5 foot, you can join as a sponsored athlete. But yeah, 5 Foot Fitness. My email is gonna be my last name and first name at gmail.com. If you want to reach out, any questions about UMC or anything about maybe someone that needs some help. We're going to have a new cancer center here pretty soon in 2025. So it's going to be another good point outside of like MD Anderson for getting cancer patient care. We're going to have another cancer center built here. So we're going to be able to reach more people. But yeah, just Vernon, please,
It's awesome.
check
Yeah.
your DMs. Vernon, check your DMs.
Vernon, come on. It's time. This is a Vernon call to
But
action.
yeah, this is a Vernon call to action, please. I need it. But and then before I go, just, man, I appreciate you having me on, and getting to kind of, again, these are huge, and I think the sense that we get to reflect on what we've done in a sense of, maybe some of the people coming on here are, in great positions, and they're headstrong, but at least for me, uh, just having been in positions of doubt, or having been in positions of like, man, am I in the right spot, doing the right thing? Getting to talk with you again, and getting to see a lot of the people that have been on the podcast really just make it reinforce for me that, like, yeah, these are my
Yeah.
people. This is what I love doing. This, like, this is my jam.
It's
So
awesome.
thank you for
Yeah.
having me on.
Of course, dude. Seriously. I mean, I'm really excited to have you on. And that's exactly why I love doing these podcasts, is because you get to reflect and you get to think back on all the good times, right? But even just seeing you face to face on the video, it's brought back a flood of great memories that we had in our time at Tech together, and all those other times outside of the school too. So I'm really
Yeah,
happy.
man.
I'm happy and thankful that you came on. So I mean, thank you,
Yeah,
man. I
of
appreciate
course.
it.
Of course. I appreciate you too, man.